What's the sense of having community if you can do everything cheaper, faster, and more efficiently with social media marketing?
The community is the foundation of this service.
When the community is small, nobody really wants to join it.
Community KPIs are not marketing KPIs, and that's something one should keep in mind when building a community.
What is your preferred community building channel?
Often happens to Web3 projects is hiring a not very qualified community manager.
How much community manager, proper community manager, should earn as a salary?
How to make people come back to your community, how to make them contribute to your community. That's what a community can do for you.
Hi everyone, this is InnMind channel with the best first-hand information for Web3 startup founders and tech entrepreneurs. And today we are going to talk about extremely important topic for each and every entrepreneur in Web3 and crypto. And not only because it is crucially important for Web2 businesses as well. I mean, community building and community marketing strategies. And today we have an amazing invited guest and expert. She's co-founder of Soyka Digital Marketing Agency, and she's a huge expert in community building techniques. She worked with plenty of startups, both in Web2 and Web3 verticals, helped them to build community, engage community, develop, drive, and manage it. So please meet Katya Kozyreva, our today's guest expert. Hey, Katya.
Hi, Nelly. Hi, everyone. I'm so excited to join you today, and I can't wait for the interview, and I'm happy to share my experience with you guys.
Preparing to this interview, I checked a lot of, threads in Twitter about community building, a lot of articles of different guru experts advising to split between communities and, don't waste any channel, start building everywhere in Telegram, Twitter, Discord, and as many as possible. And my question is where to start from? Because at the beginning, imagine that you're an early stage startup founder, you don't have enough resources, you don't have tens of marketing managers, and you need to start building your community. What will be your advice?
The zero stage that I would really refer to is thinking about if you really need a community at the stage that your company currently is on. Because after you have started a community, you cannot just abandon it, because people will feel sorry, they will feel abandoned, and they will be kind of disappointed with your business and with your brand. So before you start, you should actually think what value you could give to the community and what value are you expecting from the community for your business. So it's kind of about setting goals for your business, setting goals for your community, finding where they match and whether you really need a community at that stage that you are on.
Come on, you say if you need community or not, but the perception is the following, that every Web3 or crypto business needs community by default. So then please teach us how to understand if your business needs community or not.
First and foremost, I would say that, yes, many product-related businesses, many platforms, like things like crypto exchanges and other Web3 projects really need communities. But the question is on which stage to start. So long before you have a product ready, it might be quite sensible to invest your time in market research or analytics or other things that you should do. Maybe gather your audience on your social media channels and building up your audience. An audience is not yet a community. So the audience becomes a community after people build a network among themselves. So the key point is to really start this horizontal social networking between your community members. So it's not a two-street communication from the brand to the audience and from the audience to the brand. It is like communicating of people among themselves. So that is what makes a community. So basically, when you already have kind of a product or an idea of a product, and you know why you actually need the people on your social nets or on your Discord server or Telegram group, then you can start building a community. Because when you already gather people there, then you should do something with them, and you should offer some kind of activities for them, like some networking polls, live streams, or any other digital events. And all these requires resources. In case you have limited resources and you are an early stage startup, a community might not be exactly what you need.
So you mean that actually the community building makes sense when you are closer to the product release, when you have enough resources to maintain and entertain your community. And also, I have the feeling you mean that the Telegram group or Telegram chat is not exactly equal to having a community, right?
Exactly, that's what I'm saying. If you are in really early stage startup, you may also make use of the communities. So you can use them for research, but you do not need to build your own community. You can just as well go to Reddit or use Twitter communities or other Telegram communities, Discord servers to discover your audience, to think of what people actually need and to adjust your research results to your product. So that is what communities really are need for at the early stage of a startup. After you are closer to a product and you have the power to maintain your communities and you have the marketing budget to actually get people together and have the ideas why people should actually invest their time into your communities, then you should start building. So the main thought that I would like to highlight here is that it is about time investment. So when you think from the marketing point of view, then you think of investment of money into marketing channels and resources and the, so to say, the cashback, yes, the return on this investment. When you think about communities, it's the people who invest their time into your communities, into your business. So they really should have a good reason to do this.
And what this reason can be?
Well, it can be about esteem, it can be about kind of safety, it can be about acknowledgement, it can be about influencing other people's opinion or other things. It can be even fun. So there are a lot of communities around games, for example, where people like get together in order to play games and to have fun, and it's absolutely enough to build a community around fun. It can be kind of a hobby, it can be about knowledge sharing, so anything that suits your business. For example, we have developed a community strategy for a cryptocurrency exchange, where our task was to invent some kind of activities and actually the reasons for traders to get together on a special Discord server and to exchange knowledge. So exchanging knowledge is actually also a motivator. And people join communities where already some relevant people are. So it means that you don't want to join kind of empty Discord server or an empty Telegram group where only the brand exists and there's just some kind of advertisement. But in case you can, at an early stage, in case you can attract people from your target audience that are relevant and people who are influencing your target audience, then it is really a good choice. So if you can do this, then just do it. The conditions may differ. So sometimes, most of the time, you should find some kind of interest for these people to join you, and a really decent reason to join you, because they, as I said, they are investing the time of their life into your venture, into your business, and that's kind of a resource that cannot easily be fulfilled, you know.
I'm thinking in parallel. Maybe there is a huge gap in understanding what is the community between what you mean by ideal community of like-minded people with horizontal connections and network, and the standard community of Web3 startup, where you create a group, you invite people there, but you approach it as all these people, all this community should be about your product or service. And it definitely limits the conversational topics. So in your example of traders, yeah, traders can share different trading strategies, etc. And at the same time, it can be the community of trading platform where majority of people are talking about problems, user experience, tools, features, how to use this, how to open this order, how to close it, but limited only to these topics about the project and not going into this similar topics about value exchange, knowledge exchange, and so on. So how to deal with that, how to transform the community builder for particular project into more wider community that will be value generating?
I do think that it is actually the job of a decent community manager. So a community manager is a person who really manages a community, who listens to the people and who aligns the values of the community with the goals of the business. So that's what a community manager actually should do. What often happens to Web3 projects is hiring a not very qualified community manager who is more like a moderator on a Telegram group, which is actually okay in case you do not need more than a moderator. So if you just need the community to have kind of a beautiful number of followers on your Telegram channel or group or whatever, then a moderator is okay. But in case you want to align the community goals with your business goals, and in case you want the community to be part of your business, then of course you need a more qualified person to manage it. And that's where the community management professionals come into the game and make the discussions or organize special events devoted to similar topics where they conduct surveys and learn what people think about what they care about, what they want to see in your community, what actually motivates them to join your community and to come back daily. So that's the main question that community managers care about. Because for marketing professionals, it is quite easy to attract the audience to a certain channel. But it requires skill and knowledge of people, and really there is a big work going behind a single question: how to make people come back to your community, how to make them contribute to your community, how to make them produce content about your product, about your community, about other members and related topics. So in case you find these reasons why people are motivated, by what means are they motivated, and in case you can align these with your business goals, then your community becomes really thriving. In case you fail, then most probably people get bored and they find no motivation in going back to your community. So it will become like a stream of the audience. The marketing manager brings the audience to your channel, and then it just goes away because the lifetime will be really small.
Yeah, that is another huge gap in understanding the role of community manager, because majority of startups I was advising in during fundraising phase, when I dig deeper into the operations and community management questions, I saw community admins whose role was to answer questions and to solve problems, and that's it. I do not recall any case among early stage startups who had a community manager who was working on engaging the audience, as you said, proposing different interesting topics, polls, so on and so forth. How much proper community manager should earn as a salary per month or whatever? Do you have some ideas? Is it very expensive?
It really depends on the region. So in case you search in the US market, it starts with like $2,000 per month. In case you search the European market, for example, we had a case where a community manager was hired in Portugal, which is not very high-paying country, unfortunately. But this is good news for the business, because you can get a qualified person for like $1,000 to $1,500 per month. And I wouldn't say that it is like a very expensive issue. Another way is to hire a community consultant who can cost less, or provide services during 1 or 2 months or 3 months and teach your admins how to work with the community properly, or who designs a community growth strategy that your marketing manager can apply with the help of admins. So there are different ways to approach this task. In case you are an early stage startups, probably hiring a full-time community manager is not what you should do first. Unless you are a game startup. So in case you are developing a game product, then it makes sense to you to hire a full-time or at least a part-time community manager who will grow the community even before the game is released. And it is actually common practice in Web2 projects, in Web2 gaming projects.
Guys, remember, if you're watching this video, so if you're early stage startup in non-gaming vertical, then think twice if you need full-time 24/7 support with community manager. But for gaming startups, pay attention. This is your cost that you should include and start as early as possible. Katya, another question. So let's say we have a startup that has some audience in social media, has some channels in Telegram or Discord, but no community yet. And they are ready to start building the community with very limited resources though. What should they choose? Only one channel, for example, Telegram or Discord, or they should start in multiple channels in parallel and see what works better for their audience to communicate with each other and build community?
The first thing I would personally do is watching what the competitors are doing. Because in case in your industry, for example, in NFT industry, it is common practice to launch your community on Discord, then you should launch on Discord because the audience is already used to this platform and it will be easier for you to gather the audience there. If after you have researched this topic, you should probably better decide which one platform you will maintain, for the simple reason that it is easier to maintain just one platform and to grow the audience on one platform than to split it between different marketing channels and waste resources on maintaining various marketing channels, many community channels in this case. The audience will be split, so we will have like 100 people here, 100 people there, and you never get enough people to join an event that is held on a specific platform. For example, if you have a voice chat on Telegram and half of the people is on Discord, then they just won't join. So they will miss the opportunity to ask questions and you will miss the opportunities to hear these questions, which may be important. So I would rather maintain one specific channel, and after you grow and after you have the resources to grow, and in case it is needed or it is asked by the community to open up a new platform, then you can do it.
What is your preferred community building channel? I mean, I heard that Discord has way more tools and different tricks for community, for KYC verification, etc. But personally, I hate Discord as a user, and I always prefer Telegram towards Discord. What is your preferred community building channel?
Well, in terms of community building, I'd rather prefer Discord because it has more functions that are helpful for a community manager. But as a user and as a community member, I more often use Telegram groups of entrepreneurs, and I also use Facebook and LinkedIn groups to get information from.
Oh, you mentioned Facebook and LinkedIn groups. Can they be an alternative for traditional, for crypto, Telegram and Discord groups?
Absolutely. There are already groups on Facebook and LinkedIn devoted to IT and crypto startup development. There are local groups on Facebook. And when we ran a bounty campaign in 2016, if I'm not mistaken, then we used Facebook very heavily because we got really a lot of audience from Facebook groups. And these were people from Latin America and from Oceania, like Indonesia and similar countries. And it was a really successful campaign. So I would advise to see where the audience already is. So what platforms is your audience used to, and use these platforms. So maybe it will make sense to you to launch a chat on Telegram or a server on Discord and a group on Facebook, for example. And in case you are in the process of raising money, raising funds, LinkedIn would be an option as well, because on LinkedIn you can find relevant communities of startups that have already raised some funds, and they can give you some kind of advice that will be helpful. There are venture groups, VC groups, angel groups. So that is really a media channel that shouldn't be missed.
With Facebook groups, I can't believe, because we also used it quite efficiently some years ago for InnMind development and marketing. But speaking about LinkedIn groups, last couple of years, I did not find any LinkedIn group that brought any traffic, any engagement, any reaction. And I read a lot of texts saying that LinkedIn groups are literally dead as a marketing or community tool. So you have different opinion, right?
Well, it depends on the industry, actually, because we have, for example, the startup I'm a marketing advisor to is a climate startup, and there are climate-related groups on LinkedIn that are quite live. When we start working with a client as an agency, we always research what groups are relevant to it, to the startups, and it really depends on the industry you're working for. So, for example, for venture specialists, I think we found some local groups, like Israeli groups, for example, that have been valuable for our campaigns. But for cybersecurity, for example, there was nothing to find. So it really depends on the topic you're working on.
Okay, heavily depends on the vertical. That sounds reasonable. Katya, another question. So you mentioned that it is not good to kind of buy followers, and I saw your different speeches in conferences where you said a lot of funny things about bots, purchased followers, and so on. But you also mentioned that when the community is small, nobody really wants to join it since there are not enough people. How to deal with that? Does it make any sense to buy subscribers or followers at least on initial stage? So not looking at that much on the quality. And then when you have the first 1,000, for example, start focusing on quality and bringing quality users.
Well, traditional community management would say that it's a sin, but Web3 marketers often do this. So actually, personally, I do not think that it's kind of a criminal thing to have like 100 to 200 of fake community members at an early stage, in case that you have at least 20 live members who can really maintain this community. And actually, it's not a big deal to get these 20 to 50 first community members, because at least you have your team, your friends, other community members from communities you're personally in, from, for example, industry communities, vertical communities, like startup communities, Web3 communities. You have some friends and acquaintances who can join your server, and they will be live people, which is really better for you and for your reputation among your community than like bringing only bots and being the only live member there. So I would combine these two things in case you feel really unsure about whether to do it or not. Well, you can as well start building with only live people. It is absolutely okay. But you should be aware that probably the growth of only real people won't give you as exciting numbers as your competitors have. But the real question is whether your competitors really have these live people following them in tens of thousands of persons, you know. So you never know. You can, if you build on Twitter, for example, you can analyze it with programmatic tools. But in case you build it like on Telegram, so it will be difficult to see whether all these people are real or not.
Mm-hmm. And since you mentioned Twitter, is Twitter applicable for community building, or it's more about audience but not community?
Well, that's a question that arises a lot of discussion in the community managers community, whether Twitter should be considered a community building platform. So personally, my opinion as a marketer is that Twitter is more about building audience, actually, because it is difficult to build these horizontal networks, you know, in Twitter. Although there are like major communities as entities. So probably Twitter community is a community in itself. So Twitter users can be considered a community by themselves. And there are community-like audiences of special projects, of bloggers, of influencers who are active on Twitter. And these audiences have community features, although I wouldn't call them like 100% communities.
So properly saying, Twitter is about audience. And if you want to have engaged community, you need to have these horizontal connections like in Telegram group, Discord channel, and so on.
It depends on what kind of engagement you need. So social media management also talks about engagement, but it is about engagement with content. So in case you only need your audience to react to your content, to share your content, you don't obligatory need to build a community on Discord. So it makes no sense. You can invest in social media marketing and achieve these goals much easier, faster, and cheaper than building and maintaining a huge community on Discord, for example.
But then what's the sense of having community if you can do everything cheaper, faster, and more efficiently with social media marketing?
Well, it depends on your goals. As I said, if you only need like to build some brand awareness, it makes no sense to build a community. A community is needed when you need a group of people really devoted to your brand, to your project, who may become ambassadors of your project, a group of people where you can ask questions, make surveys, get some feedback on your project, and build other marketing activities with them. So these are like advocates, but they are en masse. So there are many people there. Also, there are businesses that just don't work without communities. A simple example is a multiplayer game. So you cannot play a multiplayer game as a single player. Okay, you can, but you will struggle. And it makes no sense in launching a multiplayer game and not building a community, because the community is the foundation of this service, of this product. So in case you are building kind of a service that is really people related, as an exchange, for example. So an exchange doesn't function without people. And it is logical to have at least a small community of an exchange of people who use these exchange, who use these servers, where you can talk to these people, actually. So it's really valuable for a marketing manager to get feedback from the community. Also, community members usually provide really cool and sensible ideas how to develop your project, how to market your project, what people really need. And in case you listen to them, then you get really a lot of insights. For example, when I worked in-house for a cryptocurrency exchange platform, that was kind of 6 years ago, we also built a community. And unfortunately, our web development department was very slow in building the interface of the wallet, which was part of the exchange. And one of the community members just developed it by himself. So he just built a web interface, sent a file to us and said, guys, you're so slow, so I have done your job already. Just launch it, please. We're waiting.
Oh
so
my
that's,
God.
that's what a community can do for you. Another guy from this community who was Canadian and was a landlord in Canada, owning multiple buildings around Vancouver, if I'm not mistaken. He said, well, I like your project and I want to help you with marketing. I see that you guys are not really great English speakers. So I will make a YouTube show about your product and I will make it weekly. So he really just launched a YouTube show. On a weekly basis, he covered the news of the project, the news of the community members, the news of anything around the project by himself. So nobody asked him to do this.
And
so
all for free, right? He did not get
all for free. No, he wasn't even interested in money because, come on, he's a landlord in Canada. He has plenty of money. So that's he wasn't awaiting that we pay for him for that. So he just wanted to help. And that's kind of an engagement that you can receive from your audience in case you really build the relationship.
Wow, that is the magic power of having the community. Now I start understanding this. And by the way, guys, I will leave the contact details of Katya, her LinkedIn, and other links in the description of this video. So if you want to contact her and get her advice on your community building and maybe get some support from Soyka Digital Agency, feel free to do it. You see that she has plenty of expertise in what we are discussing. Coming back to the community, while preparing to the interview with you, I dropped a message to some startups from InnMind platform, asking them, what questions do you have about community building? And all of them, just without any exception, all of them were asking about community engagement, how to engage existing community, even if it is small, yet like 1,000 people, 2,000 people, not a growing small community quite on early stages. So can you please share some basic techniques or maybe 3 most efficient techniques and growth hacks on how to engage your community?
The first thing you should actually know about your community is who are the community core members. The core members are those people who are already engaging with your communities. So simply said, these are people who post on your chats, who participate in discussions, who launch discussions, who bring some news, external links, so anything. Any engagement is valuable. After you decide who are your community members, after you learn this, then you can start working with them precisely. You can even launch a separate group for community core members, but better if your community admin or community member connects with them personally, so individually, and asks them if they can help, please, to make a bit more engagement in the community, to bring more value to the community members. So these are the first advocates that you get, and these are the people who bring you the insights, what actually you should do. So they can ask other community members what they are expecting from you as a brand, as a product, to deliver in the community. What are their expectations? What are their needs? What are their fields of interest? So it may occur that people are interested in an open discussion with your product team. This is actually a very good point to consider, because rarely project developers are open to communities, and it is really a good thing to start from, to launch a voice chat, to be open to your community, and at least to hold a couple of such events. You can hold Ask Me Anything sessions, or do it in another preferable format that is comfortable for you. In voice chat, in video chat, you can launch it in Zoom, for example, or in a built-in software. It doesn't matter, actually, so just do as it suits you most properly. But it is a good thing to start from. Also, you can create simple, engaging content, like simple polls, or ask people to share a short story or to react to a message. And you should keep in mind that in case your community is yet cold, so people are inactive, they are not quite engaged in discussions, so you should start with really very simple things. So don't ask people to tell the story of their life. No one will do it in a cold community. Start with offering them to react to a message, to participate in a simple poll, maybe to drop 2 sentences to the chat, vote for a time to hold the Ask Me Anything session or anything else. So these should really be the simple things, and you go from the most simple things to the most complicated, but step by step. So after you engage people, it becomes more easy for you. Also, you should keep in mind that there are always 80% of people who are just reading and 20% of people who are participating. Up to 5 to 10% are usually content producers. So you should have the real expectations about your community. In case you have 1,000 members, it is just impossible to get 500 people into a discussion, unless you have a scandal. But you probably don't want to have a scandal. So the most easy thing is to work with those who are already active and get them more engaged, get them more involved. And after you learn more about the groups inside your communities, you will probably discover that different groups have different interests. For example, in case let's take traders as an example, there you might have experienced traders who have very different needs and topics to discuss than beginners. And in this case, you should create different events for these groups, different content for these groups, different polls, or even divide them into different channels in case you have a big community already, in order to rotate these activities so that everyone can participate. So as an example, you can recall your being a student or a scholar and participating in some voluntary activities or participating in some student activities. So you probably didn't like all the activities that the university offers or the college offers, but you probably know that at some point there will be an activity that you like and that you are likely to participate in. So what you should create is to nudge the people into the activities that suit well for them. And in order to learn what actually they want and what suits them well, you should talk to the people. So that's the most easy answer to any question. What should I do about my community? Just ask the community. So they probably will answer.
That's amazing. So guys, just make a stop, re-watch what you just heard these several minutes, and it is complete strategy of the community engagement actually. And just to clarify, Katya, making people talk and follow some tasks or answer questions versus giving them added value. For example, I don't know, discounts, some interesting read, even not produced by your company or brand, but that can match the interests of your community and attract them, engage them because they are getting something out of it. What should be the balance?
Well, it's difficult to have just one recipe for all communities, so it's always about finding this balance and trying and making mistakes, actually. So the basic thing about motivation is that material motivation usually replaces the immaterial motivation. So as long as you are an early stage startup, it probably makes little sense to offer huge discounts to everybody. Although in case you have nothing else to offer, it is better to offer at least something. But the real skilled thing about community management is to find the values and to find the motivation of the audience to join your community and to invest their time to get something. And what it should be is to be discovered during the analysis stage, when you conduct the interviews, when you do the customer development stuff. So that's the stage where you can find these insights. In case you fail to find them, then okay, nothing remains than just building up a spoiled community, so to say, like spoiled children, who are bought with some discounts and with other opportunities. So I do not have anything against discounts as is. So discounts are great, and they are a logical stuff to offer to your community members who are loyal. And I say that loyal community members would await that you have some nice things to offer for them because they actually invest the time of their life into your business. So you should say thank you, at least. But there are other motivations to consider. For example, people may have the need to get some acknowledgement from you. And also, one more thing that I would like to mention is that the attention of the community manager and the devotion to their community and to specific members is like a currency to the community manager. So people really feel appreciated, they feel engaged, they feel valued when you talk to them personally, when you message them, when you give them their attention. And usually no person wants to be like the bad guy or the ugly guy. So we all want to be socially approved. We all want to be ready to help. And this is something that you can make use of in case you do it in a friendly way, in case you just do not only take from the community, but in case you also give to the community. But it is absolutely okay to ask for help. And the community is usually willing to help in case they like their product, your product, then they want it to strive.
It reminds me this, classic relationship building advice that if you want to build a warmer relationship with some person, ask to do you a favor, small one, exactly. Yeah, and people like to help others if it is not exhausting, of course, and if it doesn't require money or whatever effort. Another question I received from startup founders is exactly about negative part. You mentioned scandals, and also some founders complain that in their community there are some, people who are shouting loudly about negative aspects, unsatisfied with, I don't know, token release, product MVP, whatever else, timelines. Usually it's also a rule for any business, for any marketing, that the negative is much more louder than positive. Yeah, so you need to run for people to ask them for positive feedback, because when they are positive, they are silent. But when they're negative, they want to shout about it all over. How
That's true.
can you recommend some techniques how to remove these negative threads from your community?
Well, actually, in case you have like loud negative people, it's a good news for your project, because these are your potential ambassadors. And we have seen plenty of such cases when worked out properly, you can these people can be turned into real ambassadors of your project. So in case people are really negative, it means that they care about your product. So if they didn't care, they wouldn't be negative. So they would just keep silent and leave the chat, and this is a lost person. So in case the person is kind of negative, it can she or he can usually be turned into an ambassador. Of course, that's not a 100% conversion. Of course, that's not a rule that applies for everyone. And there may be people who are just scandalous, you know, who are just being negative for being negative because of God knows why. So the basic thing that can be done about this is implementing rules to the chat. So how this negative feedback can actually be exposed in the chat, because just prohibiting it will not lead to any positive aspects, because people still need a platform where they burst out all these negative feedback. And in case you prohibit it on your Telegram group, for example, or on your Discord channel, then they will go to other platforms, and all this scandalous stuff will just expand to the internet, to the wide communities, and you probably don't want it to burst out of the house, you know. So it is a good idea to like handle it in a gentle way, to implement rules how it shall be exposed. So probably no bad language, you know, and things like that, or no personal offense to the team or to other community members. So these things are quite standard. And in case you see that the person really doesn't react to your addressing them and asking them to be more like, I wouldn't say resilient, but passionate, to have more patience for your product and for your community. In case the person doesn't react, well, okay, it can be banned for like 1 day, 2 days, like keeping in silent mode. And it is easy to do because quite all platforms allow this functionality. So you can do it on Telegram, you can do it on Discord, and it is okay. Also, you can contact this person personally, or ask this person to contact you personally, and like ask this person, what would you propose to do? So, okay, we have this situation, it already happened. What can we do about it, in your opinion? And in case you can do nothing of what the person proposes, then you can say, okay, look, we have these resources invested in this stuff, and we are working on this and that. And I really see that you are disappointed. I really understand your feelings, but there's nothing that can be done for now. And we are really working on our part in order to sort this out. And I will keep the community posted. I will keep the community up to date with how the issues are going on. But for now, we are doing what we can. In case you want us to make this faster, in case you want us to like be more effective, maybe you have ideas how the community could help. So probably you have some ideas on how the community can participate in like product development or marketing issues, or like contributing to your content platforms or anything else. So maybe the community can connect you to a person you need. That's also a very useful resource that many entrepreneurs forget about. Because in case you already have like 100 people in your community, they have a lot of connections in different countries across the globe. And very probably some of the community members can give you warm intro to investors or potential partners or suppliers, or help you enter new markets or whatever. So it's just a question of asking about that. So guys, do you have an idea how I should enter Indian market? Anybody in India from India here? So give me some advice. And that may be helpful, it may be not. So it won't be a 100% guarantee of success, of course. But you still try, and you give the community by addressing them, by asking for help, by asking their advice. You give them the feeling that they are noticed, that they are really important to you. And it's about respect, you know. So no community manager should treat the community as like a crowd of unpleasant people. So it's always about being respectful and being human.
Amazing advice. Again, thanks a lot for your knowledge and wisdom share. I think it's priceless for a lot of founders. I remember in one of your conferences, you were talking about different mistakes that people are doing with community. For example, you mentioned a Web3 startup that constantly, sorry for my French, fucked up with different timelines, deadlines, releases, and so on. Literally today, I saw a post in another startup community where they announced the upcoming podcast. And in the photo, in the visual, it was one date. In the text, it was another date. And in the description, it was the third date. So there were 3 different dates and absolutely no clarity when this will be. I recalled your speech and your examples and thought that we see it too often. How to avoid this type of mistakes with the community? How crucial they are if you do it?
Well, it depends on the geography of your operation, actually, because, you know, for example, if you fuck up with the time in Germany, it is much worse than you fuck up with the time in Spain. So these are like different cultural things and different perception of time, which can sometimes play a bad joke with you. So it really depends on your audience. In case you have a whole community of Germans, like Canadians or US professionals, then sorry, but you should be more precise. And in case you are, for example, well, an Indian startup, yes, where the perception of time and punctuality is a bit different, so it may be kind of a problem. But you always can explain it by okay, sorry guys, that was no good option from our side. That wasn't done well. We are sorry, we are apologizing, so that's the correct date now. Also, you can ask the community if they can help you with some issues where you're stuck. For example, if it is a podcast, maybe some person from the community can help you with like cutting the podcast, you know, or with developing some visuals for the podcast, like retushing the photos or whatever you need. So maybe you can get some help from your community as well. How to answer the question, how to not fuck up with the time? Actually, I don't know. So everybody fucks up with the time. It's normal. But maybe when you announce some activities to your community and you are not sure about the date when you will be able to release some kind of well, product or update or whatever, then you can leave the date open. So you can say, okay, guys, we are working on this or that product. We hope to release it like in January, but we do not yet know the date. So let's not plan an exact date for now, but we will keep you posted. And after we have it, then we will announce it. So I think that's more fair towards the community than to make fake promises.
Yeah, and it's not that much about fuck up with timing, but with the communication, unprecise and messy communication. And this was definitely one of the typical mistakes startups do with their communities. And before we finish, can you recall other most typical and widely repeated mistakes that you see among your startups, that you advise, that are your clients in the agency, that other founders should avoid doing? So what mistakes really piss you off when you see them on a daily basis?
Well, one more mistake I'm seeing really often is applying like local jokes or local humor to an international community. This is a topic where people fuck up so heavily that they get into scandals without actually understanding why. So in case you are not very professional in international intercultural communication, then just don't say anything provocative. Like, just try to be kind, try to be friendly, or at least try to be neutral. So do not use sarcasm, do not use some local jokes, because they can be perceived really differently across cultures. And we had a huge amount of cases when founders suddenly appeared in the chat, said something, and disappeared, and the community manager should have dealt with this scandal for a couple of weeks. So it was really not a good thing to do. Besides, well, what mistakes can I recall? Maybe a really common mistake is to set your community marketing KPIs. So community KPIs are not marketing KPIs, and that's something one should keep in mind when building a community. So it's not always about like getting new community members. For example, in case you are not an early stage, but a late stage community that is already functioning for years, it's not your KPI about the growth. So your KPIs are about engagement, about new topics, about participating in your business-related events, contributing to your media, and whatever the community should do. But it won't be about growth. In case you are an early stage startup, then you should grow. In case the community is really young, so in case it is less than 6 months old, it's all about growing. So you may not have a lot of new discussions open, or you may not have plenty of very engaged community members, but you should actually grow in numbers, and you should grow your community core. But your community core, again, should somehow correspond to the size of your community. The community core are people who will help you manage the communities. So they are local leaders of your community. And in case you have like 100 people in the community and 30 leaders, it just won't function. And vice versa, it won't function if you have kind of 10 leaders for a 10,000 people community. So it should be proportionate, and you should keep in mind how things are going. So it's like the community is like a business, you should build out the processes, and you should find the right people for the roles that you need inside this community in order that this business functions correctly. Otherwise, it just gives you more problems than value.
So does it mean that traditional business marketing KPIs, like, for example, converting community into users, into token holders, into token buyers, into early adopters, readers and traffic to your website, it is absolutely irrelevant, because the community metrics and KPIs should be not directly related to the marketing KPIs, but should be separately like nurtured within the community.
Well, it may be my mistake that I haven't expressed it very correctly. So of course you should care about the conversion rates, and of course your community KPIs should be aligned with your business. But what many people do is that they apply these business goals and these business KPIs, for example, to very early stage communities. So you can't expect people who have just entered your community and still do not know much about your product and your team, like instantly convert into your loyal users, for example, and that they have like a huge lifetime value for your business. So it's a thing that is growing steadily, step by step. And it is absolutely appropriate to align your community KPIs with your business KPIs. And you should, of course, care about the product KPIs and the marketing metrics. So a community member shouldn't cost you like $10,000, so it's insane. Sure, but you should keep in mind that there are also internal community metrics that should align with all the others. And in case they fail, then everything else fails as well, most probably. Because in case you are pushing your community constantly to convert into users, then you will just burn out your community. So in 2 months, you will have no sane users. And it's not a long-term strategy to follow. So it's really about balancing, and it's finding some kind of mutually profitable things, mutually beneficial metrics, and mutually beneficial stuff to discuss with your communities and to things to do with your community.
Katya, thank you so much for sharing your expertise. I believe we will have a lot of grateful comments. And don't forget, please leave your comments under this video if you like it, if something is unclear, if some questions are remaining, because of course, community building is a huge topic that can't be covered all in one interview. So if we have enough interesting and practical questions in the comments, then we will invite Katya again. And as I mentioned already, you absolutely feel free to find Katya's contact details in the description of this video. Contact her directly in Telegram, LinkedIn, Twitter, and yeah, ask for advice, connect, and build your community. You see, the community is so different and can be so helpful in your business development, product development, and growth. So it definitely worth putting efforts to build it and to grow it, but do it properly. Don't repeat mistakes that Katerina was telling about, and don't fuck up. Thank you, Katya, for your wisdom.
Thank you, Nelly. It was such a pleasure to meet you and your dear audience. So community is about love.